sitting through a retrospective of the first films, and then finally we end up with Star Trek V, and you're getting to see your first film clip from that movie. And I think you'll find it very interesting. Here we go.
Oh, yes.
Here's the scene from the Marshmallow Factory. Count it down, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, Scotty, your friend. Live long and prosper. Space, the final frontier. These are the continuing voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Her ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Her name is Jim. Yes. And it will be honest.
Can we move the peaks? If you go down, yeah, and pull.
Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are on leave, and I've taken their leave in their center, which we now presume to exist in an even more pristine state. There is a passionate affair going on between the climber and the mountain. Why do I climb the mountain? I would say the climber would say, because I'm in love.
Hey, Mike, up there? I look around and the mountain gets higher. I think, well, I'm okay now. I think the worst part is I see him climbing. Okay, good. That's a cut. That was great. You got it. North Drift. That's a cut.
Operational in 2 weeks, I gave you 3. What happened? I think you gave me too much time, Captain. Very well, Mr. Scott. Carry it.
How many times do I have to tell you the right tool for the right job?
Oh.
I can use a shower. Yes.
Wow.
Star Trek.
Thank you very much. This is about the fourth time I've been to Hawaii, but the first time I've seen you. Just absolutely delighted to see you, and thank you very much for the very warm reception. What I usually do is to teach you how to ask questions by giving you the answers to a few questions, and from that, then we judge whether, if you have fun, that's fine. If you don't have fun, out. Okay? So, anyway, what I'll do is, I'll answer the first question, which is, how did I get the role of Scotty? Well, to cut a long story short, about 2 weeks before they were going to do the second pilot of Star Trek, my agent sent me to read for the part of a Cockney, inspector for Scotland Yard, right? I went there and I didn't get that part. But about 2 weeks later, about 10 days later, the director of that called me and said, I'd like you to come and do some of your accents for the Star Trek people. I said, who are they? And so he told me, and I said, well, what the heck, He says, at that time, before I became, someone that was well known, at that time, if I read for the part, 75% of the times I got the part. And it didn't make any difference what accent it was, because I was just delighted to go because I had to pay the rent. And so anyway, I went there. They handed me 1 page of the script, and I proceeded to do 7 or 8 different accents for them. And when it was over, Gene Roddenberry said to me, he said, well, which accent do you like? I said, if he's going to be an engineer, he really should be a Scotsman. And Gene Roddenberry said, well, we rather like that too. I said, good. I'll call him Montgomery Scott, which is, I'm named after my maternal grandfather. So my name is James Montgomery Doohan, and his name was Captain James Montgomery. So I named the character Montgomery Scott, and to get the Scottish part in there, I threw in the Scott. Okay? So, anyway, but supposing they had picked some other dialect. And when Captain Kirk calls down to engineering and says, give me warp 12, instead of hearing the familiar, but Captain, my engines just can't take that. Instead of that, you hear, see. Or you hear, oi, hey, that is this warp 12 business. Or you hear, yeah, Captain. Or you hear, well, Captain, I don't know. I suppose I'll have to stroke the dilithium crystals. Since, because if I stroke them, they get a little warmer and they might be able to go a little faster. Oh, yeah, now listen here, Captain, I've told you many times before. Don't like to go above that warp 8. Oh, that's in order. Well, all right. me, huh? And also I noticed that on the last planet you did not get the girl. You should have come to Lucky Pierre. Or we have, you be young Kirky. Well, sir, I'll see you hanging from the highest yard arm in Starfleet before I'll give you a warp 12. My favorite, though, is Reggie. And he would answer the captain something like this. I'm terribly sorry, sir, but I can't seem to get the little buggers to move any farther. Thank you. Now, the next question that a lot of people ask is, what would I do if I were captain? Well, the first thing that I would do would be to limit Ensign Kirk to one girl every 3 years. You know, I mean, that got to be too much, didn't it? You know? At least it did for me, anyway. Sulu would never be allowed to carry arms. I have to tell you that. See, I know George better than you. And if I ever went hunting with George, or if you ever went hunting with him, you know, you would find his shotgun right here all the time. Anyway, Chekhov would never be allowed to scream again. We would hire another writer, a good one, to give Uhura some other line than hailing frequencies over. She deserves better, okay? And none of that shit. Wait till you see her in Star Trek 5. She'll look gorgeous. Oh, by the way, Star Trek 5 is, I haven't finished that other answer yet, but Star Trek 5 is going to be opening nationwide in June 9th, okay? Bones would never be allowed to say, he's dead, Jim. And finally, Mr. Spock would never, ever, 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 ever be allowed in my engine room. It always used to bug me that this guy who built the ship, who know how everything works, who can operate anything on there, every time we got into trouble, they'd send Mr. Spock down to engineering, and he would check on different things. Of course, he was a big star, you know, but he'd check on these things and give some profound statement, such as, oh, well, right? And everybody would go, oh. And there I am standing there like this. Okay? Now it's your turn to ask questions. So, yes, sir. Boy, I'm telling you, I don't have to coax anybody. There, yes. Speak up loudly.
When you did the part where you got to go fight over the Enterprise with the Klingons.
Trouble with troops.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. How did they, whoever come up with a look on your face whenever you told Kirk why you got into the fight?
I'm supposed to be an actor. Roddenberry didn't say to me, I want, at that moment, when you say that, I want, look, 72A with a little touch of 94Z. Okay? Did I ever shut you up? No, you're still talking. Okay? All right, another question, please. Yes? Yes, my dear. How young was I when I started acting in Star Trek? I am the second oldest person who acts in Star Trek, and I was 44 when I started. Okay? So you can figure that all out. All right? Yes, sir.
I understand that Scotty's rank in the movies and everything is now up to Captain of Engineering.
It was up to Captain of Engineering in, I think, number 2.
Okay.
But, you know, it's, or number 3 at some time like that. But, you know, is that I have complaints from some fans that the wardrobe department has not put the right number of circles on my outfit and, or the right badge on and everything else. So I've been promoted, demoted, promoted, demoted. Every time you see me on the screen, you know, and I told them about that, and they swear that it is not so. However,
my question is...
oh God, he has a question. You know, you realize that you realize that you're up against the guy who kissed the Blarney Stone. And once we start talking, it's kind of hard to keep us shut up, you know.
Is it my understanding that there are 4 captains? How did they dissolve that in the script? It's like there's what? Yourself as a captain, there's Captain Kirk, Captain Sulu, and Captain Spock. How are 4 captains going to be on the bridge? Somebody's got
Bill Shatner started the whole darn thing out wrong by wanting to be an admiral in Motion Picture 1. You know, that screwed the whole thing up. They figured that, by golly, if he's going to be an admiral, then we got to up other people in rank, you know, somehow. And they got so confused, you know, really terrible. And I think that they should have given us more pay and to heck with the rank. Yes, dear.
In the new Star Trek, The Next Frontier, they showed a lot of improvements in the bridge and in the shuttle bay dock.
Yes?
What improvements are you going to have in your engine room?
Oh, as a matter of fact, no, I won't give the story away. No, I do want to say that there is one part of this film that they spent on the set, just for one laugh, $250,000. And I'm the one that gets the laugh. Yes, sir, in the cab, and then the person behind you, and then whoever it was down to you, sir. Obviously, I'm an intelligent guy, he says, yes. Oh, talented. Oh, not intelligent. I guess he put me in my place, huh? Yes?
How do you feel like when people just stereotype you as Scotty and not through your other personality?
Well, I tell you, there's not much they can do about it in Hollywood. Is that when you are seen countless times in people's living rooms, it is just automatic that you're typecast. It is such a dreadful thing when you find out that you are typecast, but there's nothing you can do about it. Okay? You look in all the old movies, before television, you know, even some of them before radio, all those characters played exactly the same character all the time. I can remember seeing, Cary Grant always played Cary Grant, right? But Lionel Stander, always played Lionel Stander. Billy Gilbert, always played Billy Gilbert. Billy Gilbert's Zazu Pitts was a fact. I worked with Billy, and I worked with Helmut Dantine and Signa Hasso and Zazu Pitts, and they're marvelous actors. But the only thing they ever got to do on the screen was their little specialty. Like Billy Gilbert's he was famous for sneezing or holding a sneeze. And then all of a sudden later on in the film, you know, he would spend all his time in a comedy, and naturally, you know, he'd spend all his time going, and then somewhere about 5 minutes before the end of the film, they let him sneeze, you know, and of course you didn't expect it, you know, you expected him to be stopping again, so you had to laugh, you know. Anyway, when you're typecast, it's horrible, but now it's just turned into another life for me. Yes, sir.
You've heard you do a lot of great accents, but can you do a local pidgin English accent?
I have not heard one. So I tell you, whatever idea it is, I can do it. You know, all I have to do is tell you that if you have a good pidgin English accent and come up here and talk to me, within about 5 or 10 seconds, I'm talking like you. Okay, so forget it. I'm not going to do that, put on another little show of things because it's boring for the rest of the people. Yes, okay, and then way back there, somebody else with a hat on.
I apologize if this has been asked 8 million times, but I'd like to know, can you really play the bagpipes?
Can I really play the bagpipes? No, but I finger it beautifully. Paramount had allotted 2 hours for this famous piper who was in the Scots Guards, you know, which sometimes protect the Queen at Buckingham Palace. And he's retired and lives out in Los Angeles now. And so they gave him 2 hours to teach me, and he gave me the fingering and all that sort of stuff. And after about 5 minutes, he said, you got it. I said, well, let's go to the pub. That was that. All right? Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you were doing Turnabout Intruder.
When I was doing Turnabout Intruder, can't remember the show, but.
The last one. I just wonder how you and the rest of the cast felt knowing that this was going to be the last show of the series.
Well, we certainly didn't like it. We were absolutely appalled that we were cut. Because, you know, we were so satisfied with the show, particularly because of the great scripts we had. And, you know, it was just so marvelous later on when we gradually, you know, people started talking about Star Trek, and went on, you know, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 10 years later, and so on. And we were vindicated then. But at that time, it was terrible. But we were not allowed to show it on the screen, like, you know, saying a serious line and then saying, oh. Yes, sir. In turquoise.
What did you do between the last episode of Star Trek and Star Trek the Motion Picture?
Well, before I was typecast, in other words, in the rest of 69 and 70, and the whole of 70, I did quite a few other series. You know, played other parts in series. And then in February of 71, a director that I had worked with called me from Madrid and said, can you do a French Canadian? I said, yes. He said, okay, let your beard grow and get over here in 5 days. So I went over there and I spent 6 months over there doing Man in the Wilderness with Richard Harris. And hardly seen at all, but they had this fella, Benoit, you know, and he talked like this, you see. And he's a French Canadian. All right, you know, the wind she blow like hurricane, and by she blow some more. You cannot drown on Lac Saint-Pierre so long you stay on shore. Yes, sir.
Do you have a favorite episode of the Star Trek series?
My favorite episode is I'm much more interested in science than, shall we say, as 10-foot tall lizards that speak English. With the Doomsday Machine.
Yes.
I know a few writers who agree with me. You know, I really, but anyway, you know, it's a City on the Edge of Forever was a great one. The Trouble with Tribbles was a great one. And The Trouble with Tribbles was probably the most fun to do. Yes, Mary. Can't hear you, Mary. She would like to know more about my family and my children. Well, I tell you, I have 4 children by the first wife, 6 grandchildren. That's 2 girls first, and then twin boys, who are now nearly 30 years of age. And now I have 2 more boys, right? They are 12 and 10, and very smart. And I just am very, very proud of my children, because none of them have ever really got into trouble. And yet, boy, sometimes I've wondered how in the hell they never did get into trouble. Anyway, that's they're great kids. Okay? Thank you. Yeah, that was right. You are Mary, aren't you? All right, good. I saw her at the Mike and Larry show this morning, and that was rather fun. Down there. Yes, it was. Okay. As a matter of fact, you know, I was over after the show. I was over at the big department store, Liberty House, right? I was buying something, and darn if there wasn't Mike. He comes up and says, "What are you doing in a place like this?" So anyway, I had forgotten to get an audio cassette tape, which is right there, recording this, I hope. Is what? Oh, no kidding. All right, that's great. Anyway, you're a lovely woman. You're welcome. Yes, that boy in yellow and green. What episode of Star Trek did I not like? The only one that I did not like was, what was it called? The Way to Eden? The hippie one, right? Yes, sir. Do I feel that the script writing in the 3rd season seemed to go downhill quite a bit? It didn't seem to go downhill. It went downhill. And unfortunately, to me, I know the reason for that, and it was really all Gene Roddenberry's fault. It's not being funny. I mean, that was serious, and it was his fault, because Gene, when he doesn't get his way, and of course he didn't get his way because they said you're going to be canceled, he goes off and pouts and doesn't do his work. You know? Now the rest of us could go off and pout, you know? I mean, come on, you know, you have a job to do it, and do it to the best of your ability. Don't sit there, you know, being silly with yourself. Okay? Do you have another one? Thank you. Should be much louder than that. I presume that was for the idea that I was talking about. Hopefully. Good. Yes. Again? I've seen 4 of them, and it looks pretty good to me. You know, the only thing that I really find lacking is that there's no kind of camaraderie. You know, it's all a little cold. And I really think that's a mistake, because I don't see how people can go through
you know, be out in space and not have a fantastic connection with each other. I have been on 2 aircraft carriers and on a nuclear sub on a cruise. And they have a heck of a lot better thing than the crew of in the Next Generation. They like each other better. They know each other better. They understand each other better. In the new Next Generation, they don't seem to do it. Anyway, that's my criticism. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I wouldn't have minded having the girl a few more times, but exactly what do you mean by having? So, anyway, no, it wouldn't even be a question if we hadn't had so many with the captain. You know, if we'd had one every 6 or 7 times, or something like that with the captain, we wouldn't even think of us having something. Okay? You understand what I mean? Yes. Excuse me, come up here. I can't hear. Oh yeah, yes, I do say the line. Use the proper tool for the proper job. For the right job, right? For the right tool for the right job. What about it? You're enjoying what you're saying, so I can't understand what you're talking about. Come on up here, come on up here. No, come on, say it in the microphone. I can't remember how I said it in the movie. How many times have I told you the right tool for the right job? Yes, Red.
Yeah.
Stand up and we'll hear you. Everybody will hear you better.
What information of Star Trek V can you tell us?
Just about none. No, I tell you what, the story is really rather a mixed-up story, and why do you even want to know? I don't want to know what a thing's about. I want to be entertained. I want to be fed all the different facets of a drama or a comedy, and why do I just don't even want to know anything? You know, I'm not going to tell you.
Are there going to be any more Star Trek pictures slated for production after this one's done?
Are there going to be any more Star Trek pictures slated for production after this one is shown, you mean?
Yeah.
We have also signed a contract for number 6. Even better than that, our producer, Art Bennett, signed for 5, 6, and 7. So if DeForest and I don't die, we might be in number 7. Yes, sir. Oh, wait a minute, no, I'll be over here. And then you.
Is Savick going to be the number 5?
Yeah.
Savick? No. No, as a matter of fact, I think you'll probably find that the character of Savick is gone. You know, it's just probably, there's no part for her in this one.
Have they considered at all returning the original crew to television?
No, they have not considered returning the original crew to television. Okay? But Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy would be much too expensive. Okay? Yes, sir.
I heard that at one point Shatner was directing wanted to kill off Scotty and Chekhov. Is this true?
That was not while he was directing. We actually behaved ourselves rather well. But then again, Bill also behaved himself rather well directing us. But it is a fact that at least 2 or 3 years ago, he wanted to get rid of DeForest and myself. But he's obviously been forced to change his mind. Okay?
Who will be directing the next one?
Number 6, I have no idea. I don't even know if the story is written. I'm darn sure that Harv Bennett has a very good idea of what he wants. Okay? Because Harv is a very good writer. You know, and fortunately, I think Harv does a fabulous job in doing the production of Star Trek when he started in on number 2. You know, which the Wrath of Khan today, even though number 4 was such a lovely, happy show and a great idea, I still think number 2 is our best. Okay, you find it out who's going to talk first. Yes, ma'am. Is William Shatner as good a director as Leonard Nimoy? To tell you what, we'll have to find that out when we see the movie. Okay? I must say that Bill was very nice to us and everything else, and we just had a great time doing, shooting the movie. All right? He wanted a really good pace to it, and I think he got it. So yes, ma'am.
Michelle said about a year ago that they had some good jokes planned to pull on Bill as director. And I was wondering what kind of jokes were pulled behind the scenes of different people, if you can remember any that were really...
No, I don't remember any jokes that we pulled. I don't know what she was talking about. You know, that they were going to have pull some good jokes on Bill when he started to direct the picture, because they never happened there that I know of, anyway. You know, so okay, yes, ma'am.
Have you ever considered directing one of the movies yourself?
Have I ever considered directing one of the movies myself? No, I don't want to. I directed enough people during World War II, and I just don't like doing it. I just want to be an actor. I can't even be a writer, you know, because way back in 1946, I wrote the word "the," and I looked at it, and I looked at it, it just didn't look right. And then I realized I was not a writer, and I had no attempt since. Yes, sir, back there. Yes, sir, stand up, please. You, the one who's looking around. No, that other one. You're next, then. Nothing was said about my nephew. Oh, in the, in the version that was shown on television by ABC, my nephew, they put back in all those lines, right?
Will they ever release that, do you know?
No, the one that is released is the one that does not have those scenes in it.
Will they ever release like special edition?
No, ABC has their edit, and I must say that I liked ABC's version better, right?
Can you explain more?
Yes, it's true, okay? And I don't see why the other part was cut, you know? I know who did it, but I won't mention. As they're in white. You were standing up before. God, it's so hard, you know, to get people to... Yes, sir.
I know you've done television series other than Star Trek. Can you name what they are and tell us which one's your favorite?
I've never done a series in the United States other than Star Trek. I don't think. I've done, I did, oh yes I did. That was after the first movie.
Space Academy?
Space Academy, right. But the very first science fiction show I did in live television days in Toronto. We did 52 shows, half-hour shows, and it was called Space Command. And it was terrible. And it was terrible mostly because our rockets were like the little $1 rockets that you'd buy, you know, on fireworks day. Okay? Yes, sir. And then you, Leo.
Do you think Star Trek V has the same atmosphere as Star Trek II, or?
I tell you, you can't judge one picture in relation to another one. I don't see how we can judge Star Trek II and Star Trek V. I just hope that Star Trek V is as good as number 2. Okay? Does that somehow answer your question a little bit? But there's no way that you can know until you see it. Okay? Yes, young lady. What? Wait a minute. One person be picked to tell me, honey, you just don't have a voice enough to carry it to me, so I can't hear it.
She wants to know what your favorite thing was you said
During Star Trek 4, Admiral, there be whales here! As a matter of fact, the gaffers, who are the electricians, and the grips, who are the carpenters and the people who work with the sets, they told me from way up there, they said, that's going to be the next phrase they want to hear. And that's the way it's turned out. Everybody wants to hear me say that line. Yes, sir.
What's life for Jimmy Doohan like now?
Life for Jimmy Doohan is quite rich, actually. I don't mean so much rich in money as rich in content. You know, I'm a very happy guy.
Any regrets about doing Star Trek at all?
No, I've changed and switched. I used to really regret after the third year of being typecast when I wasn't getting any work. You know, I really regretted being typecast, and I really regretted doing Star Trek. But a friend of mine, who I respect very much, he told me, he says, Jimmy, he says, you should not let that bother you. He says, you are going to be Scotty now and long after you're dead. He says, so you might as well get used to it. And so I took his advice and I got used to it, and I rather love it now. Okay?
Are we going to see any kind of ad-lib scenes like we did in Star Trek 4 there at the end? In Star Trek
Are we going to see any ad-lib scenes? Hey, what do you think is an ad-lib scene? Not an ad-lib scene. We rehearse those ad-lib scenes.
Well,
okay?
Michelle said...
I tell you what. Be satisfied with what you get in 5. It's called The Final Frontier, but it doesn't mean that that's the final show. You'll find out what it means when you see the movie, okay? And discuss it with your friends. All right, now who is the other person over here? Yes. Stand up.
When you watch Star Trek in The Next Generation, how do you feel about there being a Klingon on the ship?
Well, I certainly don't like that, laddie. I'm going to just say, what's the world coming to? Okay? That's the only way to do it. Yes, Valerie.
I've heard a rumor of filming 6 and 7 closer to the ending of 5
Listen, we heard that rumor that they were going to do 5 and 6 close together. So now you're starting to hear it about 6 and 7, eh? Well, no, I don't think so. Because they combined the contracts for 5 and 6, but they haven't combined the contracts for 7 or 6 and 7. So I don't think that'll happen. Yes, sir.
Would you be interested in making a guest appearance on the new generation?
No, I don't want to look that old. Yes, sir, behind the table.
I was wondering, every show that you have it growing, you always seem to get the crap you got.
I had a tough life, didn't I? Yes.
Do you think there will be any love interest in the next movie coming out?
In the next, in number 5, do I think there will be any love interest? No, it's a different kind of love in number 5. No sex involved. Other than Uhura's legs. Yes, ma'am.
Will we be seeing you doing anything outside of Star Trek soon?
What did you want me to do, dear? Will we be seeing me do anything outside of Star Trek? It's possible, you know, but you never can tell. Hopefully, there'll be some producer will look at something in Star Trek maybe, or something and say, my golly, he's the right guy for that part. You know? Maybe it's, you know, the wave in my hair or something. Who knows, you know? Because the longer I go without washing my hair, I get a curl. And we think that's great. You know, say, wow. No, I have no idea there. You know, my agent does his best. Okay? Yes, and another question.
How long did it take to shoot 5?
How long did it take to shoot 5? About 12 weeks. But, you know, fortunately for me, the first 2.5 weeks, a couple of days were shot in Yosemite, and you'll see the result of that in the film. And then they shot for 2 weeks out in the Mojave Desert at night. Thank God I was not there. I've never heard so many complaints from everybody. You know, the wardrobe people, the makeup people, the cast. DeForest said to me once, he said, Leonard and I were called at 5 o'clock in the afternoon once, and we didn't finish till 9:15 the next morning, you know. And DeForest had, you know, it was just, 2 weeks before we started shooting, and had a very serious operation, right? And of course, then the doctors, he came through it okay, and once he came through it okay, then the doctors say, well, it was the best thing for you to go out in the desert for a couple. Now, if he had died out in the desert, they'd have probably said, oh, she overdid it. No, but oh, God, I'm telling you, thank God I didn't, I just wasn't there. Yes, sir. Hey, speak in the microphone. Oh, speak it, hold it.
Which movies wardrobe would you like the best?
Which movie did I like the best, huh?
The wardrobe.
Wait a minute, he's doing very well.
The clothes that the people in the cast wore for the movies.
Which clothes did I like best? I like the clothes we're wearing now the best. I didn't like the ones in the first movie. They were the ones that were all colored gray. Yeah, I didn't like those. And I didn't like the ones we did in the series either, because of that gay little twirl to the pants there. Didn't care for that too much, you know. Anyway, do we have any more? Because I don't know. Yes, I'll wait in the back there. But to me, the next generation ship, it looks as if they designed it at the same time that everybody else was also thinking about the stealth bomber. And I said to Gene, I said, hey, come on, you know. I mean, things can be anything in space, you know. You don't have to worry about streamlining or radar or whatever, you know. So anyway, that's my opinion of the ship, the design of the ship. Inside it looks okay. Yes, the other person that's back there. Yes, as a matter of fact, I used to read the Buck Rogers from the Detroit Free Press every Sunday. Yeah, and that's how I got to like things. So before, yes, Mike. Okay, we got half a second here. I'm going to answer one more question. Then I'm going to give you a Scottish toast to tell you what I really think of you. Yes. Pardon? I won't talk about it, honey. Okay? It was quite serious stuff. Okay? Yeah, he's fine. He's looking great. Okay? One more.
What keeps you so young?
What keeps me so young? Thinking young. Okay? And I have 2 young children. To keep me going. All right? All right, now I'm going to give you a Scottish toast, then I'm going to autograph. Am I not? All right, yes, all right. I'll say the Scottish toast twice, then I'll translate it. Him stays and was like us, guy few and there are thee. Here stays and was like us, guy few and there are thee. Nobody could possibly be as good as we are. To be that good, we'd have to be dead. Thank you.
Did you do Amazing Grace one more time? I missed it. I was on when I was walking up.
Sure.
I've never had much exposure seeing a bagpipe up close, so it's kind of neat.
You missed the Highland Games. They were practically across the street.
No kidding.
All day long.
I was in the Star Trek convention, so...
That's too bad we had 6 bands from around the world.
Ah, I would love to have seen that.
you very much. That was very nice.